Hello and welcome to another episode of Podcast on Fifth Ave. I'm Taylor Haase, you're Danny Shirey. We actually have a little bit of news to talk about. Since we last recorded, teams have started putting out their rosters for the World Championship. World Championship this year, it's going to be from May 12th to May 28th. It's split between Finland and Latvia. USA put out their roster on Thursday. Canada put out the roster on Friday. A couple of other countries have mentioned some guys that are going to be going. Right now, the Penguins are going to have 5 representatives confirmed, which I feel like is more than they've had in the past. But it's kind of surprising, the names that are going. I don't think we expected a lot of these guys. Starting off with Canada. Canada put out their roster Friday. Crosby's not going.
Crosby would like to actually enjoy his long summer for a change.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's by choice. If you're looking at a lot of these rosters, there are a lot of big names who are missing. The Penguins representative of Canada, P.O. Joseph. It's going to be his first time ever representing Canada on the international stage, any level. So big for him. This is to be a good experience for him going into the next season.
Yeah, I'm excited for him. Like we talked about it a little bit before the show, but like I just get the sense that like a lot of these guys are kind of shifting toward I don't want to really travel across the world and go play in this hockey tournament for like a week and a half, 2 weeks, whatever it is. So that isn't all surprising to me, but I think it's awesome because you and I talk about it all the time, just how much Joseph just loves being around the game of hockey and just being at the rink, whether he's down in the minors or up in the AHL. Like he really just wears his heart on his sleeve in that regard. And I think it'll probably mean a lot to him. Like you said, he's never represented Team Canada in that fashion before. So I'm sure it'll probably mean a lot to him. And I'm sure he'll be glad he had the opportunity.
Yeah. Looking at Sweden, I don't think we have Sweden's full rosters yet, I believe, but they've put out a couple of names. Alex Nylander is going. He's represented Sweden on different international stages before, so this isn't his first time. I did see he did an interview. It might have been. It was sometime this week where he said he would love for his brother to play with his brother at Worlds too. Now his brother is still playing right now. William Nylander with Toronto Maple Leafs. The way that series is looking, he might get his wish. But I mean, another like young guy. Where I mean, this is great for him. He's earned it. It's a good experience for him.
Yeah, I feel like this. He's the kind of guy, like from a purely like viewing it as how it might impact the actual NHL team. Like he's the kind of guy on the Penguins roster now that they've re-signed him. Like he's the kind of guy you want going and playing at the World. So like you said, it's going to be a good opportunity for him as well. But I think playing on that kind of stage here, it's tough to say. All guys do all kinds of different things during the summer, but it kind of feels like that. With how little he did kind of play down the stretch, he was a healthy scratch for like 8 consecutive games, I want to say, during March. So maybe didn't get as many games under his belt there, throughout the end of the year as maybe he would have liked. So I know we're still a little bit separated from that, but it'll probably be good to kind of build off that before there's like a little lull through the off season. Yeah,
Rickard Rakell's not going for Sweden. He told us that on clean-out day that he was dealing with some things injury-wise towards the end of the season, and he said if he were going to go, he wanted to be 100%. Pettersson, I asked Pettersson, because, I mean, well, he came back, that last game of the season. He was, injured before that, too. He said he was 100%, so he's healthy enough to go at the time. He said he hadn't had any talks with Sweden yet. He hasn't been named to a roster yet. I feel like if it were going to happen, it would have by now. He did just have a baby. I don't feel like if you're Marcus Pettersson, you want to be going to Latvia when you have like a newborn Franz at home. Another guy who's been ruled out, Finland Granlund is not going. It sounds like that's his choice, which I know Penguins fans are like, yeah, that's a big nothing. But I mean, he was a big part of Finland's team last year. He's won, I want to say, gold a couple times with them, or at least medaled with them a couple of times. So that is a big loss for Finland. But looking at the
Well, and then you like look at some of the names that are on these rosters. It's like, yeah, Granlund stunk, but it's like he'd still belong there if like he wanted to be there. They wanted him there.
Yeah. Speaking of, look at the U.S. roster. So the Penguins have 3 representatives on Team USA, and
they're not who you would think.
No, I don't think I expected any of these names. So we thought Jay Gensel would be there because Jay Gensel told us he would be there on cleanout day. Jay Gensel's not going. It's like minor injury related, kind of like Raquel, like banged up towards the end of the season. I can't imagine what it would be. I know what was that one of the last trips of the season when they were in Denver, Dallas. Sometime on that trip, he took like a big shot to the foot, and like his foot looked pretty bad after. So I wonder if that's it. Regardless, he's not going. The 3 Penguins are going to be representing Team USA. Nick Bonino, reminder, he is a Penguin.
For now.
For all his 3 games, which is a good sign that, I mean, his kidney's fine because, you know, he came in, played 3 games, lacerated kidney, and then, you know, he missed the rest of the season. It sounded like he was getting close towards the end. He never did come back, but he's good enough now to go to Worlds. He's played Worlds twice before. He's the oldest player on Team USA's roster. He's really the big name on the Team USA roster if you look at it. The 2 Penguins who are going to be wearing the Team USA jersey for the first time ever in their career, Drew O'Connor and Casey DeSmith.
And it's not just that Casey DeSmith is on the team. It's that Casey DeSmith is tendy number 1 for the US of A.
Yeah, I know, because Team USA mentioned that he was going to go, you know, before the full roster came out. I was like, okay, so he's like a 3rd goalie. No, he's probably going to start. You look at the other 2, Cal Peterson. Cal Peterson, he was in the AHL most of last season. This past season, 40 games with the Ontario Reign, and then 10 games up with the Kings. And then Drew Commesso, who has not played professional hockey yet. He just signed his entry-level contract with the Blackhawks, but he spent the last 3 years playing for BU. Commesso, the last Olympic squad where no NHLers were there, he went and he played 2 games, so he has experience. He was also on the last Worlds roster. He didn't play any games. He was just an extra. So, I mean, he has experience, and he keeps coming to these U.S. tournaments. But right now, I mean, Casey DeSmith, is he USA's number 1 goalie? He has to be. This is insane.
No, like, he has to be. There's no other way. I don't know. Like, I honestly never, ever thought I would. I mean, I haven't seen it yet, but I never thought I would see Casey DeSmith in, like, a United States jersey playing on the international stage. That dude loves his equipment as well. Like, he's always changing his pads and stuff. You know, he's showing up with like a ridiculous like flag kit or something with this awesome bald eagle mask. You just know it.
It happens maybe like, I want to say 3 times a season. It's like Casey will come out to practice and it's like, yeah, Casey switched up his pads again. I feel like that's probably why I wanted to be a goalie, just so he can design it. And honestly, I don't like most of his designs. I think
they're pretty boring.
Well, I feel like they don't, like, his helmet and his pads don't often like go together. Like, they don't look like they're part of a matching set. I felt that way about his like Winter Classic gear, where he went with like the khaki.
Looking awful.
Yeah, so now I'm excited to see what Casey comes up with for the Team USA set, Casey. And then Drew O'Connor, a little bit surprising. But then if you look at like the rest of the names playing for Team USA, there's not there's a lot of AHL guys on this roster, other college guys too. It just seems like a lot of NHL players don't want to go. I feel like if NHL players did want to go, Casey wouldn't be there either. We'd be looking at like John Gibson and guys like that. But I mean, again, another guy, Drew O'Connor, another young guy. Good for him, the experience.
Might be looking at a top 6 role.
I'm again, like, you look at like the roster, especially the forwards. There's not a lot of guys with more, Alex Tuck is like the one of the big names. Connor Garland. Well, there's not many. Like now maybe like when some of like the current round of the playoffs, when guys start getting knocked out, then maybe we'll start seeing more. Like maybe Austin Matthews goes, because I don't think the Leafs get out of this round. But right now, yeah, Drew O'Connor is like a big name on Team USA.
He's gonna be their glue guy.
He is. Someone replied to me like on Twitter, and it's like, oh, what does this mean for Drew in like the Jersey Pro League? That's that like the summer league he doesn't really play in. It's kind of like the Beauty League. Everyone knows the Beauty League. That's Minnesota. Pittsburgh has the Goat League. Montreal has, I think they just call it the Montreal Hockey League or something like that. The Jersey Pro League is like the New Jersey, New York one. And my friend Alex Ratter, who was on the show a couple of weeks ago in place of you, he runs it, and he had like Drew on the roster, but like Drew did not want to come. He ended up getting Drew to come out for one game. And it was like the first time Drew had even been on the ice all summer last year, and like Drew was just like not ready to play a hockey game. And because like a lot of the guys in that league are like D3 college guys, and like they're going hard, like this is like big for them, and Drew just like was not ready to be there. No points. That was his team's only loss the entire season. And then Drew never came back. He didn't play. His team ended up winning the championship, so he's technically a Jersey Pro League champion. I was talking to Drew. It was after the morning skate in Detroit, one of those last road trips of the season. And I can't remember how this came up, but we were talking about the Jersey Pro League, and I was like, "Oh, you're gonna go back and try to defend your title?" And he's like, "I'm not playing." he's like, Alex has to stop putting me on the roster because I'm not coming. And then I was like, "You're a champion, though," and he's like, "The only game I played, we lost." And I was like, it sounds like you're the problem. Have you considered that? He's like, there's a story for you read about that.
I mean, that's very plausible. Like I don't mean to be like, oh, like I'm one of those people that like played the game, but what if there's one thing that I would like stress to people who have never played hockey is that like you could be on the ice for a practice or a game for literally a month straight, and if you're off the ice for 2 days in a row, that third day you go to get back on the ice, you literally feel like you've never skated before. So like if he was going into that dry and hadn't been on the ice all summer, and those college guys especially who are on the ice every day and are trying to make a name for themselves, like he probably didn't have the best time.
Yeah. Zach Aston-Reese played in that league too. I know his like first game of like the Jersey Pro League season, his team got smoked like 11-2 by Alex's team. Drew was on that team too, but not really. I told Alex, and I was like, Zach Aston-Reese is not going to come back after what you just did to him. And Zach Aston-Reese ended up coming back, playing every game. So if you're in the Jersey area, you're not going to see Drew O'Connor, but you might see Zach Aston-Reese. But yeah, Drew O'Connor, I'm sure he'd rather be playing for Team USA than playing out of Newark, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Center. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about some prospect news in the second segment, and then we're going to talk about some snacks in the third segment. So stay with us. All right, and we are back. Last week we talked about one prospect who's going home, left the Penguins organization, was a restricted free agent, Filip Lindberg. He's going back home to Sweden, 5-year deal. That was heavily motivated by just wanting to go home. He has a son. He has a young kid. That was important to him. He did note that, like, had he been like a regular NHLer, maybe he would have stayed. But it was primarily motivated by family.
Mike Sullivan hates the young guys.
Yeah, that's the narrative. And that's the narrative people were bringing up with this next guy we're going to talk about who went home, Filip Lindberg. Filip Lindberg, he signed, he was another guy who was going to be a restricted free agent, Penguins goaltending prospect. He signed a 2-year deal in the top Finnish league, TPS. This is his first time ever playing in the top Finnish league because he grew up, obviously, in Finland playing over there. He came over, he was drafted by Minnesota, came over to play for UMass, played for UMass through 3 years, then didn't want to sign with Minnesota, hit free agency. That's how the Penguins got him on a 2-year entry-level deal. So he was his 2 years with the Penguins very completely marred by injury. We barely got to see him. I know people look, so you go back to last year, his rookie year, 21-22. He played 6.5 games and was great. He was like the AHL goalie of the month for October. And then he had an ankle injury that ended up being season ending. They tried to rehab it. So like he was skating. It was like leading up to like the Christmas break. And then they realized like it was something they couldn't rehab. He was going to need to have surgery. So he had surgery, missed the rest of the year. Came in this year. He only played 19 games because it was just more injury problems. And it wasn't the same thing. He had a couple of like minor things that would keep him out like a game or two throughout the year. But then he had 2 significant ones. I have the dates somewhere in front of me. Okay. Lower body injury on December 21st that had him sidelined until January 14th, so about close to a month. And then he had an upper body injury on February 11th that caused him to miss the last 2 months of the year. That was season ending for him, upper body. And I know everyone loves to crap all over the Penguins like strength and conditioning staff, but like I was seeing like tweets like, yep, Penguins, they really effed up Lindberg's ankle. That was a problem from this year too. Unless your ankle's your upper body. No, this is a completely different thing. He just couldn't stay healthy through no fault of his own. I don't think it's anyone's fault. Bad luck. I mean, it sounded like it was a broken ankle. That's not something you can strength and condition your way out of. And it's something I don't know. And even when he was healthy, his stats last year, his first 7 games were great, but that's such a small sample size. This year, the 19 games he played, so if you look at Wilkes-Barre's season, they started out very good. They were like top of the league at some point early in the year. They didn't make the playoffs. They fell off. They were playing much better the first half of the year. Most of Lindberg's games came when they were playing well. And he had a 3.13 goals against average and an .896 save percentage. Whereas like Taylor Gauthier, rookie goalie down there, most of his starts came second half of the year. He had a save percentage and 2.71 goals against average. He had a much better year. Lindberg had just fallen down the depth chart. He was 4th. I don't think he would have been re-signed anyway. Thoughts?
No, I mean, you covered most of it. The only thing I was going to bring up is like even when he was healthy, like he was dealing with Gauthier and obviously Tokarski was down there as well when both Jari and DeSmith were healthy as well. So when he played in the because he played in the Prospects Challenge that we went to in Buffalo, didn't he? And I remember you and I were talking a little bit about, because he looked pretty good in that game. Obviously, it was just like a Prospects game, but you and I had kind of talked a little bit about how this was kind of like a big season for him to really kind of figure out whether, he could kind of build on that good stretch of games he had the previous season, and like, kind of figuring out, well, maybe is this a guy who could jump to the NHL and be a backup in another season or two? Obviously, that's not the path that he went down. But, there was at least a point in time where there was some intrigue around him. But, after especially this season that he just had, it's like he's almost just kind of like a run-of-the-mill guy that you could get anywhere else at this point.
Yeah, I mean, he was like a highly coveted guy when he did hit the free agent market. Like, the Penguins are not the only team interested in him. But, yeah, the Penguins have 4 goalie prospects. Lindberg was definitely 4th on the list at this point. And like I said, I don't think he would have been re-signed anyway. I don't think this is an example of, like, Lindberg leaving. Because Hallander, they would have wanted back. Lindberg, I don't think they would have wanted back, just because you need somewhere for all these guys to play. Gauthier is still under contract for the next 2 years. We don't know yet where Blomqvist is going to be. He could go back to Finland, but he signed his entry-level deal this year. The fact that he signed it this year to me is an indication that they think he could come over. And play the AHL next year. That's what Blomqvist told me he wanted to do. He wants to come over next year. It's up to the team and all too. But his signing rights weren't going to expire until next summer, so they didn't need to sign him this early. So the fact that they did sign him this early, to me, indicates that they planned for Blomqvist to come over. So if you have Blomqvist and Gauthier and Wilkes-Barre, where does Lindberg go? Wheeling? Is that what you really want for him? No, I don't think Lindberg would have wanted to go down to Wheeling. No one wants that. Or I mean, even if you do sign like a veteran backup, because they still could a veteran like number 3 to be in that rotation. There's just nowhere for Lindberg to go. Anyone freaking out about this needs to go outside and touch some grass, because people are like yelling about this too, like Mike Sullivan hates the young guys, and that's why it's like, well, where would Lindberg have played? Third line center. Other prospect.
Yeah, he's a goalie. It's not like Sullivan's giving him like 4 minutes a game when he's up there. It doesn't even make any sense.
No. Another prospect news. This one's a little different. Kirill Tankov, he signed a 2-year contract extension in Russia. He was already.
Mike Sullivan hates the young guys.
Oh, the replies on Twitter to this article, and it's people who obviously did not read the article, because if you read the article, you would understand. I feel like that this has nothing to do with that, but all the replies are like, "Yep, Tankov knows, no future for him over here with Mike Sullivan as head coach, so he's gonna stay in Russia until Mike Sullivan's gone." It's like, I don't think Kirill Tankov might not know who Mike Sullivan is. Like, to me, when I saw the Tankov extension, I'm like, this is good news because he's gonna play again. People who don't know who Kirill Tankov is. So 2 years ago.
Wait. If you don't know who Kirill Tankov is, go on YouTube and type in Kirill Tankov highlights and watch the most fire mixtape you have ever seen in your life.
Kirill Tankov, he was their 7th round pick in 2021. So that 21-22 season was his first year in the Russian VHL. That's their minor league. That's a step below the KHL. He had a good rookie year. This past year, he is expected to come in and compete for KHL time with St. Petersburg. That didn't happen. So he started out in the VHL with St. Petersburg. The first game of the season, he broke his neck. That was it. We were watching the game.
No, you literally text me and you like either tweeted that you were like watching Tankov, or you texted me.
Because the VHL, they stream all their games on YouTube totally free, and it's like great quality. Like, it's better than like the minor leagues here. And I texted you the link. I'm like, Tankov's time.
Right. So we missed like the first period, right? Yeah. So we're there for the second period. It was a couple minutes into the second period, right? Like it was his first or second shift of the period. I hadn't watched him live ever. Super excited too, because, like I said, fire mixtape package, 7th round pick. Like, it's just destiny that he's going to be the best player in the NHL at some point. Anyway, I'm really excited to see him. We're watching him together, and all of a sudden his neck goes kaput.
Yeah, he gets hit from behind. Goes hard into the boards, and like I remember I couldn't see if it was like him at first, like the angle, but then like you just keep hearing like the announcers like Tankov. I'm like, oh my god!
Well, yeah, you're like, oh god, that guy got lit up, and then you're like, I hope it's not Tankov.
Yeah, and then they're bringing out the stretcher. He fractured a vertebrae in his neck. He needed obviously surgery done for the year. So that was his year. He ended up he was skating on his own, like towards the end. He was off the ice for a long time. Obviously, broke his neck. For a while he had a neck brace on. His team, he seemed to be in good spirits the whole time. From like the videos his team was posting, he was doing some like color commentary on the broadcast for his team. But yeah, so he started skating towards the end. From what I had heard from like the Penguins development staff, is that it was not as bad as it like they originally maybe thought or feared. They figured he was going to play again. So when I saw Tankov, his contract expired. So when I saw he signed a 2-year extension in St. Petersburg, to me that's a good thing because he's going to play again. Obviously, he was not going to come over to North America next season after missing all of last season with a broken neck. A guy like that, ideally, you would get some KHL time before he comes over. So to me, this 2 years, you give him time to like get back up to game shape. Again, after missing the entire last season with a broken neck, and then let him have some good extended KHL time, and then maybe you bring him over. And this isn't so. Normally, you draft a prospect, and depending on where they come from and how old they are when you drafted them, you have a preset number of years to sign the player before his rights expire. That's not an issue with the Russian players because the Russian Ice Hockey Federation does not want a transfer agreement with the NHL, which means so like normally, if the NHL like poaches a player from like Finland, they like have to pay. I believe it's like the team that you take them from, or like the governing body over there. The Russians don't have a transfer agreement, which also means that their signing rights don't expire. Like, if you draft a player out of Russia, they're yours forever. Alexander Pacharski, who played one game in 2008, he's still Penguins property.
You'll still see him on the list that they hand out in the press box before the game with like the roster and like non-roster guys. All those guys are listed on there still.
Yeah, like the not during the year, but the preseason and the playoffs when they list the scratches. It's like everyone they have rights to. So there's like 8 different like Russian players that are like scratches for those games, and they're people who are like in their 40s who are like not even playing hockey anymore. But like the Penguins just have their rights. So Kirill Tankov, he can take as much time as he needs to recover from his broken neck and come over. This has nothing to do with him not seeing a future over here. It has everything to do with, I think, what he went through last year.
I just can't believe, and apologies if this applies to you, but not really apologies, but like how dense do you have to be to think that some 21-year-old Russian kid is sitting over in Russia? And mind you, he was a 7th round pick. Like I like the kid. I think he's very, very skillful and would love if he ever plays in the NHL. But like, how dense do you have to be to think that 21-year-old kid is sitting over in Russia paying that much attention to the way Mike Sullivan is managing other young players to think that?
Yeah.
Come on. Like, I know it's the off season, but we are grasping at some friggin' straws, people, and we have a long way to go.
Yeah, go outside, touch some grass. I don't even know if Kirill Tankov speaks English. Like we just talked about this before we started recording. He's never been here before. He hasn't come to like a development camp or anything like that. Obviously, the Russians like just don't, because it's hard to get them over, especially right now. Just the way the world is, it's hard to get them over here for those kinds of things. But also, they're like doing training camp stuff like all summer over there, so like they don't come over anyway. He has no like relationship with like Mike Sullivan that could be bad. I'm not worried. In 2 years we'll see where he's at. Bring him over again. He's a 7th round pick. If he doesn't pan out, it's not the end of the world.
Well, it's the end of the world for my hopes and dreams, but that's a different story.
He's a very exciting prospect. Kind of chaotic. Like he might, put up 5 on the other team, but then he'll turn the puck over 5 times and give like 5 goals back. I feel like he's gotten better at that over the course of like the last year. He actually played center. He was like a middle 6 guy, but yeah, very, very skilled. Again, go look up his highlights. The stuff he does with his hands, even like when he was injured and skating on his own, just like the stick handling he was doing, just a very skilled player. Lots of fun, good attitude. That's all I got on Kirill Tankov. We're gonna take another break. We're gonna come back and we're gonna talk about what I know everyone wants to hear about, which is snacks. So stay tuned. All right, and we're back. Something I started doing this past season that was way more popular than I thought it would be was reviewing the snacks in the press box. So not the media meals. So because arenas, they don't not provide media meals. Like most of them you have to pay. this is like the free press box snacks are like up there with us. And teams do it differently. They have different budgets. And the way this started was, so the first road trip this season was Montreal. And if you listen to the way other beat writers, people talk about the hot dogs in the Montreal press box, they make it sound like it's going to change your life. This is the best food you're ever going to eat. So I'm like, all right, these hot dogs. And then so I go there and I get a hot dog, and then like I eat it. I'm like, it's a hot dog. It doesn't it's like an above average hot dog, but it's still a hot dog. How good can a hot dog be? So I included like a bullet in my at the bottom of my game story about like whoever's doing PR for the hot dogs in Minnesota and in Montreal, like they need a raise because they're doing outstanding work because they're so overrated. And people like that. And they're like, keep doing the press box snack reviews. So I started, I did it everywhere we went. I believe like you put stuff in like the live file or maybe at the bottom of your story too. But people love this. Because of what the next road trip I wanted was like the big like Western Canada. Seattle.
Yeah, and you were living like a baller out there.
Yeah, that was a good. It was a mixed bag. That's I think where it really picked up. So we're gonna, when things slow down and like the Penguins are not in the middle of a GM search, we're gonna like do a ranking of like all 32. 32. We've been to 30 arenas. The only ones we haven't been to. Winnipeg for obvious reasons. No one's ever going to take that away from Dejan. And then Minnesota, just because that's part of that Winnipeg trip. So we'll figure out what they have in Minnesota and Winnipeg, and then we're going to do rankings. But I guess we can do like a little preview now, like top 3, bottom 3. Just first, of what you've been to, what is your number 1?
All right, so I have to go with Vegas, T-Mobile Arena, as number 1. I might slightly be influenced by the fact that I just absolutely love that building and the atmosphere and the entertainment. I, for whatever reason, typically after warm-ups, I'll go and get myself a little water, a little snack, go get something to nibble on before puck drop. I didn't that game when the Penguins were in Vegas this year for whatever reason. And I got up after the first period, and it's kind of like their little like snack bar, I guess, and where you go get everything's kind of like off to the side, like kind of in this like little nook and cranny, I guess, at the back of the press box. Anyway, after the first period, I get up, I go. They had the best spread of candy you could ask for. I'm a peanut M&M guy. Like I'll be sitting at home watching a TV show at like 8:30, and I'm like, I need some friggin' peanut M&Ms. I hop in the car, drive down to the gas station, and get some peanut M&Ms. And I'm not getting the no 99-cent package either. I'm getting that $2.99 share size, and I'm eating them all. Nobody else can have any. Okay. I go over there. They've got peanut M&Ms. They got regular M&Ms. They got Skittles. They got gummy bears. They got Sour Patch Kids. And on top of that, they had like popcorn and random like little brownies and cookies you could have and everything. So as I'm up there getting some peanut M&Ms, and they've got like, I don't know, like these little cups that are maybe like this big that you can fill them up. I go and get myself some peanut M&Ms. As I'm walking back to the press box, this is when Jeff Petrie was out with his upper body injury. I'm walking back to the press box, and this is during the first intermission. I'm walking back to the press box, and Jeff Petrie walks by me, and he sees that like there's some. I got a lot of peanut M&Ms in my hand. He's like, "Ooh, I gotta go get me some of those." So anyway, I ate a ridiculous amount of peanut M&Ms that entire game, and then second intermission, I'm going back to go get more, and I walk up, and Petrie's up there again getting himself some more, and I was like, "Okay, yeah," but. Vegas definitely has to be one for me for the variety and the fact that they had what I like. If there weren't peanut M&Ms there, I promise you I would have eaten my body weight in Sour Patch Kids instead. So Vegas, you have my heart with your press box snacks. You have my heart with your in-game entertainment. I love it. Take me back to Vegas.
So the number 1 in the league and you haven't been there, Chicago. This is like a universal objective number one as far as press box snacks go. The biggest like press box snack connoisseur that travels with the Penguins, beyond me, is Bob Airy, and like we were talking about this, and he goes crazy in Chicago. So yeah, he's like, oh my god, he's like with me with Chicago number one. I was talking with Hextall. It was like during warm-ups of a game at home. It was when the Penguins switched up their pretzels, and we were talking about this was like maybe like a couple weeks before the trade deadline, and I asked him, I was like, have you ever seen Moneyball? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, you know how like Brad Pitt trades for soda in Moneyball? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, do you think you could trade for like a soft serve machine for the press box? And he laughed, and he's like, yeah, I'll get out of that. So, but like we're talking about like I've been like I do like the bullets in my story. I'm like, so he asked like what like my number one is, and I was like, well, Chicago. And he's like, oh, it's Chicago. Like everyone agrees Chicago. I don't know what their like budget is, but it has to be insane. So like they have a medium meal downstairs that you have to like pay for, but what's up? If you're paying for the medium meal in Chicago, you're a fool, because in the press box, so free, just their spread. There's like prepackaged sandwiches, multiple kinds, salads, multiple kinds, and then also pasta salad, assorted fruit, like prepackaged, different kinds of baked goods, a bunch of kinds of chips, a bunch of kinds of like kind of candy, and then like everyone has like tea, coffee, soda, but Chicago.
Well, the prepackaged is big too. Like it's a lot different seeing a turkey sandwich sitting there out versus one that ain't been touched by no grubby hands. That is a big difference.
Yeah, especially the chips. That's one of my gripes with PPG Paints Arena is that I don't think I thought too much of it like before COVID, but it's just like buckets of like potato chips that like they dump out of like a big bag and you scoop it out, and like I don't know, you see some people go up there and they'll like grab one out with their hands, and it's like I prefer the prepackaged chips now.
Well, no, because there was a point like you and I both got sick like the same week, and it happened to be a night that you and I ate a crap ton of goldfish out of the community bowl. We probably weren't the only ones who got sick, because it was like a week later. I think the Penguins like ended up on the road after that, but when they got back, when next time up in the press box, it wasn't the communal goldfish. They were all like the individual packages of goldfish, and it stayed that way. So like people had to have been getting sick from those goldfish. Like there was that night I was referring to. It was like I was still writing. It was like 2 a.m, and out of nowhere I had the worst stomach cramp ever. I was like keeled over in the fetal position on the ground, like trying to write about Ricard Raquel or something.
Speaking of candy spreads, Seattle, that's another place you haven't been yet. So what they have, it's like I think they're like cereal dispensers where like you turn and like it dumps out, like they have a wall of those, but it's all different kinds of candy. So they have like sour gummy worms, normal gummy worms, like peanut M&Ms, normal M&Ms, Skittles, they like trail mix and like pretzels. But then they'll also put out different like buildings do like they'll put out like nicer stuff at intermission. So like when we were there, they put out like these really like fresh baked cookies at first intermission, and then like second intermission they put out like hot dogs. And then because it's Seattle, they have Starbucks on tap. Seattle is a big one I liked. Another team that has to be in my top 3, Edmonton. Edmonton goes hard with like the Canadian specific snacks. So they have like a whole wall of like different like prepackaged kinds of chips, but like most of them are ketchup chips, which you can get them in the US now, but I think like hers has ketchup chips. They're not as good as the ones that you can only get in Canada. And then several kinds of candy bars or just types of candy that you can only get in Canada, like Aero bars, Coffee Crisp, Smarties. We have Smarties here, but what Canadians call Smarties something totally different. They're kind of like M&Ms, like they're chocolate. What we call Smarties, they have too, but they call, I want to say it's like Rockets or something like that. But, and all the different kinds of like specific Canadian snacks Canada, the Oilers have. And then they also put up pizza at intermission. So that's another. Do you have any other shouts for?
Yeah, so I got to give a shout here, and this might come as a surprise, maybe a little underrated one I'm checking in here with. But I got to go Los Angeles Kings, Crypto.com Arena. Yeah. Okay, listen. Really nice press box setup. Like, it's very, very, like, it literally ranges, like, the length of the arena. But down on, like, the visiting end where, like, the visiting media is, they had a kind of like a similar setup, I guess, as they did in Vegas in terms of like where it was located and like the bar and everything that it was at. But they had several different flavors, but the one I had, they were basically like these little, like, they weren't chicken wings. I guess they were chicken nuggets, but they were, I'll just call them boneless chicken wings. But they had this amazing teriyaki sauce, and they had them in those nice, I don't even know what to call them, but those like silver platters that like you fold them up and down, and they keep everything nice and steaming hot. They were incredible. Like, a lot of the time when you see that kind of stuff up in the press box, it's like, oh, like it's okay or whatever. It was so good. I was getting up every stoppage to go get more until they were finally gone. And on top of that, they had a really nice candy assortment too. Yes, of course, the peanut M&Ms were included in that. I would not include Crypto.com Arena if they didn't have the peanut M&Ms, but they had the peanut M&Ms. They had some Skittles. They had the regular M&Ms. But the thing I'm really keying in on here is these chicken wings, these boneless chicken wings with teriyaki, the barbecue, whatever sauce was on there. Those, whoever's handling all of that out in Los Angeles, you are doing a phenomenal job. Keep it up. Don't change a thing. I will see you next season.
I mentioned the soft serve machine I wanted for like the Penguins press box. The only, as far as I know, the only building that has one is the Islanders' new building. Incredible. I ate so much ice cream when we were there this season, because they have like vanilla and chocolate, and like you do the swirl, but then they also have like fresh brownies and cookies, both of which are like insanely good on their own. So I was like putting those in the ice cream. The Islanders, they have like popcorn, they have soft pretzels that aren't that good, and then they have fruit. So they don't have like like chips or candy, but like the soft serve machine, high marks for them. Speaking of soft pretzels, the Penguins, like, that's their big thing. I can't remember if we talked about this on here. So the Penguins had, for the longest time, soft pretzel sticks, and I didn't think they were that good.
They weren't that good, but you ate them because they were there.
Yeah, like, you have like the chips and all that, but just looking at the rest of the spread, the soft pretzels that they really, they were warm, like they'd bring them out there under the heater. They had like cheese and stuff like that. It felt like some nights they were like overdone and like dry, and then definitely always over salted. And so I kind of like, I'm not like ripping like the soft pretzels on Twitter. I don't know. I think I tweeted like ranking like the press box soft pretzels in the Metro Division, and it was like Philly, all they have is popcorn and soft pretzels, but the soft pretzels are incredible, and they're prepackaged, so you can walk out of there with like 8 in your backpack. They don't stop you. They don't check you. So I would leave with like soft pretzels from Philly. They're so good. So it's like that, and then like the Islanders, and then like the Penguins. And then I remember also my other tweet about them was like someone tweeted asking for like some of your Penguins trade proposals for the like leading up to the trade deadline. I was like, all right, the vat of cheese for the pretzels and a first to the Islanders for their soft serve machine. So basically, the guy who runs like the snacks up in the press box, that's not his only job. He's like the executive chef at the arena. Like, was seeing my tweets, and he's like, all right, we've gotten complacent. We got to step it up. And then so it's like after like a road trip around that time, we get back. The soft pretzel game has like done like a complete 180. So they got rid of the big vat of like questionable looking cheese. And now there's like different kinds of dips. There's like an incredible bacon dip. There's also cheese, but then there's like beer. I think it's like beer cheese, and then there's like a mustard. But then like 7 different kinds of pretzels. Like I remember my 2 friends who cover the Flyers for the Philly Inquirer, Gianna Hahn and Olivia Reiner, they were there. And like they were blown away by the pretzel selection. They're like, this is insane. Like, so they have sticks, but they're a little different. They had nuggets, and then they had like full-size soft pretzels, and then they had like, so no filling, and then they had 2 kinds of soft pretzels with filling. There's like a cream cheese, and then they jalapeno cream cheese.
And it took them a second to figure out the filled ones, though, because the first night those came on the scene, I was one of the first ones to grab one, and I bit into it, and I wasn't really sure what I was eating. And I looked at you, and I was like, what is this? And you're like, I don't think it's cooked.
Yeah, so we didn't know what it was, but it was definitely, I feel like that night it also was underdone. It was like not fully cooked, and it was cream cheese, but after that night, they were great. And
I wouldn't know. I couldn't do it after that. Just couldn't do it.
And like the bacon dip is incredible, and like the jalapeno cream cheese ones were incredible. And so like the guy who's like the executive chef at the arena messaged me, and he said like, I saw your tweets, ripping our pretzels. So we had to step up our game. What do you think? I was like, oh yeah, like I'm glad that I had this kind of impact on the press box snack game. But we spent so much time talking about this. But real quick, worse, who do you got to rip? Who needs to do better next year?
Well, I wanted to start. I wanted to get my third one in there and say Toronto, Scotiabank Arena.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of, they got what you need, but they have pizza in there. Good pizza in there, and they keep re-upping it too. So they were the game that I was there covering this past season was when they were doing the Hall of Fame ceremony, and quite frankly, I got a little bored with it, so I was like, I'm gonna go get myself some pizza before puck drop. Well, I'm walking up. There's 2 slices of pepperoni left, and they hadn't re-upped the rest of them, and I was like, oh, this is perfect. Like I wanted 2 slices of pepperoni, really good pizza. Anyway, I go and grab them, and I put them on my plate. Well, I turn around. The dude in line behind me was Wayne Simmons, and then he saw that I had 2 pieces of pepperoni on my plate, and then saw that there was no more pepperoni in the like little carousel wheel thing that you grabbed it out of, and just went, oh, and turned around and walked away. So I stole Wayne Simmons' last 2 pieces of pepperoni pizza. Very happy about that I could take that away from him. But as far as stepping it up, my hometown, one of the best, possibly the best arena in the NHL, nationwide arena. Got to do a better job up in the press box, people. What are we doing? Popcorn and that's it? And halfway through the game, every single time they're out of popcorn bags. So It's like, let me just reach in there. No, I'm not doing that. So if you don't want that, you have your option of like 4 sodas, one of which is like Dr. Pepper, Sierra Mist at the time. I don't know if it's Starry now, and then water. That is it. Come on. And Columbus is a good food city too. Every friggin' franchise and chain in America is based out of Columbus, or they have one there. It's an awesome arena. You go down the concourse, you can get all kinds of different good food. Up in the press box, you got some popcorn, but you better get it before halfway through the game because you're not going to have anything to put it in.
Yeah, Calgary is another building where like they only have popcorn, because like that's not like a real like press box that was like there when they built the building. It's when we're like, it's like suspended over the ice. When you walk on it, you feel it shake. So there's not a lot of room up there for much else. So Calgary, Columbus are in my bottom 2. The other one that I have to like, which is surprisingly bad, and people are gonna be surprised because of like my tweets, but like the Rangers, because like I know people see like my tweets of the pizza, but that's the concessions. It's free, because so what the Rangers do in place of a media meal, you walk in and they hand you like a $25 voucher for concessions. So like it's free. I'm not paying for the pizza, which is nice, but then like just the stuff to snack on. It's like, first of all, it's in like a room that is definitely like it used to be a closet. It's so tiny. It's also unmarked. You're like, am I supposed to be in here? No soda at all. It's just like a little mini fridge with like water bottles, but half the time you go there and they're out of water bottles. And then like no chips or anything like that. They just have like every time I've been there, it's been candy, but it's been like different candy. Like it's like someone's leftover Halloween candy. It's like just a mixed bag. But like the last time we were there, it was all high chews, and that's all they had. All the Rangers were.
Are you about to start disrespecting high chews on our podcast right now? Because I will jump through the screen and fight you.
I don't hate high chews, but like if that's all you got, and I felt like half of them were like the pineapple. So
who cares? It's high chew. Okay. They're good.
But if that's all they're giving you, I don't know. I was not happy with it. The Rangers are on my bad list.
So my gripe with the press box snack situation there is that to even go use your concession voucher, like you actually have to just go among like the fans that are there. It's not like
commoners.
So like the press box there is like hanging from the rafters, like right above the upper bowl. But then you like literally just like take these little steps down and then you're on like the upper concourse. And that's where you have to go to use your voucher. So you either use it before the game or you have to use it during the game, like during the first or second period while the game is actually going on. Because if you try and go during intermission, well, good friggin' luck. You're going to be waiting in line the whole time. Yeah. So it just sucks. It's like a crappy situation. You show up and you're not ready to use it yet. Well, guess what? You probably ain't using it or you're going to not be doing your job very well. And that ain't me.
So I was there for the first 2 games of the playoffs and then the 2 games there this year. And when I was there for the first game this year, I got pizza every time. It's the same guy working at the pizza concession stand this year. And I like get the same thing I always get. And he's like, you were here for the playoffs, weren't you? And it's like, that was almost a year ago at this point. I was like, how much pizza did I eat that he remembered this? I'm like, yeah. And then when I came back for the second game there this year, and like after I got the pizza again, and he's like, hope we see you in the playoffs. I'm like, I bet you do, because if you do, then you'd probably be moving on. But yeah, so that's how much pizza I mean, because I was there for the the triple overtime game, so I did get pizza twice. That's 2 games. I remember getting like during warm-ups, and then I got a voucher from like someone else who didn't use theirs, and I got pizza like later on. I didn't. You were there for what? 5? No, I went for 5.
I was there for game 7.
I went for 1, 2, and
the Rona.
Yeah, like half the beat got COVID after game 5. So I did not go back for game. I missed game 6 at home and then game 7 there because I had COVID. Yeah, you got to go there. So we've talked a lot about.
Anyway, this concludes another episode of Podcast on Fifth Avenue, one that Taylor and I both said, okay, we're going to keep this one at 30 minutes today because it's the off season and we're talking about snacks. But here we are at the hour mark. So thank you so much for tuning in. Take it away, Taylor.
Thanks again. Yeah, I think we spent half an hour alone on the snacks. If you're listening to this still, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But we drop episodes every Saturday. Hopefully we'll have more to talk about in future weeks that aren't just snacks. But as you can see, there's a lot to talk about with the snacks. But if you're just listening to this, we drop the videos too on YouTube on the DK Pittsburgh Sports Penguins YouTube. So subscribe to us on there if you want to watch that. But thanks again for joining. We hope you'll join us next week.